Should you buy, lease, or finance a new car to buy or to lease? Unraveling the car purchase dilemma. Have you ever found yourself at a car dealership, overwhelmed by the sheer number of options, wondering if you should buy that shiny new car or just lease it and move on in a few years? It's a decision that seems simple on the surface but can get surprisingly complicated when you dig into the details. We're going to break it all down today, diving deep into the pros and cons of buying versus leasing a car. And I promise you'll walk away with a clear understanding of what's best for your situation. Let's kick things off with a thought experiment. Imagine you're holding the keys to your dream car. Now, what if I told you that how you acquire this car, whether you buy it outright, finance it, or lease it, could drastically change not only your monthly expenses, but also your long-term financial health? You might be thinking, well, as long as I get the car, does it really matter? The truth is, it matters a lot, and that's what we're diving into today. The big decision. What are your options? When it comes to getting a car, you've got several paths to choose from. Let's break down the 4 main options so you can see how they stack up against each other. Option 1. Buying outright, the cash approach. The first option is pretty straightforward, buying the car outright. You hand over a big chunk of cash, and boom, the car is yours, free and clear. No monthly payments, no interest, just you and your new wheels. This is often seen as the ideal option because it means full ownership from day one. You don't owe the bank or a finance company anything, and you can do whatever you want with the car. Drive it into the ground, sell it, or trade it in for a new model down the line. But here's the catch. Not everyone has a pile of cash sitting around to drop on a new car. And even if you do, is it the smartest use of your money? We'll explore that in a bit. Option 2. Financing, the installment plan. Next up, we have financing, which is probably the most common way people buy cars today. You pay a deposit up front and then finance the rest over a set period, usually through a car loan. The big draw here is that you get to spread the cost over several years, making it more affordable in the short term. But there's a trade-off. You'll pay interest on that loan, which means you'll end up paying more for the car in the long run than if you bought it outright. Financing can be a great option if you don't have the cash to buy a car outright but still want to own it eventually. Plus, once you've paid off the loan, the car is yours, and you won't have any more monthly payments to worry about. Option 3. Leasing. The rent and return model. Leasing is where things start to get interesting. Instead of buying the car, you're essentially renting it for a few years. Your monthly payments are usually lower than they would be with financing because you're only paying for the car's depreciation during the lease term, not the full value of the car. At the end of the lease, you just return the car and, if you want, lease a new one. Leasing can be appealing if you like driving new cars every few years and don't want to deal with the hassle of selling a used car. But keep in mind, you never actually own the car, and there are often restrictions on how many miles you can drive and what kind of wear and tear is acceptable. Option 4. PCP, personal contract purchase, the hybrid option. Finally, there's PCP, or personal contract purchase. PCP is a bit of a hybrid between financing and leasing. You pay a deposit, make monthly payments, and at the end of the term, you have 3 choices. You can buy the car outright by paying a final lump sum, return the car and walk away, or trade it in for a new model. PCP often comes with lower monthly payments than traditional financing because you're only paying for part of the car's value. However, if you decide to keep the car at the end of the term, you'll need to pay that final lump sum, which can be pretty steep. Crunching the numbers. what's the real cost? So which option is best? To answer that, let's run the numbers. We'll compare the costs of buying outright, financing, leasing, and using PCP for a typical mid-sized family car. For this example, let's say we're looking at a car with a price tag of $30,000, and we'll assume a deposit of $4,500 for the financing and PCP options. Financing, the real price of ownership. With financing, you're looking at monthly payments of around $810 over 3 years, assuming an interest rate of just under 11%. That means you'll end up paying close to $34,000 for the car by the time you've paid off the loan. But remember, the car is yours once the loan is paid off. If you decide to sell the car after 3 years, let's assume you get $16,000 for it. That means the car would have cost you about $18,000 over 3 years, factoring in the sale price. Leasing, low monthly payments, but no ownership. Leasing, on the other hand, offers much lower monthly payments, let's say around $345 per month. Over 3 years, that's about $17,000 in total. But at the end of the lease, you have to return the car, and you don't have anything to show for those payments. If your goal is to keep your monthly costs down and you don't care about owning the car, leasing might be the way to go. PCP, the flexible middle ground. Now, let's talk about PCP. With similar deposit and interest rate assumptions, your monthly payments might be around $453. At the end of the 3 years, you can return the car, pay a final lump sum to keep it or trade it in. If you return the car, you'll have spent about $21,000 in total, more than leasing, but less than financing. If you keep the car, you'll end up paying around $36,000 in total, making it the most expensive option overall. Beyond the numbers, psychological and practical considerations. It's not just about the numbers, though. There are psychological and practical factors to consider. If you're someone who values ownership and likes to keep cars for a long time, financing or buying outright might make the most sense. Once the car is paid off, it's yours, and you don't have to worry about monthly payments anymore. Plus, you can drive it as much as you want without worrying about mileage limits. On the other hand, if you like the idea of driving a new car every few years and don't want to deal with the hassle of selling a used car, leasing or PCP could be a better fit. Just keep in mind the restrictions that come with these options, like mileage limits and the need to keep the car in good condition to avoid extra charges at the end of the lease, making the right choice for you. So what's the bottom line? The best option depends on your financial situation, your driving habits, and your long-term goals. If you can afford to buy a car outright and plan to keep it for many years, that's probably the most cost-effective choice. If you prefer lower monthly payments and don't mind not owning the car, leasing or PCP could be a better fit. And if you're somewhere in between, wanting to eventually own the car but needing to spread out the cost, financing might be the way to go. Just be sure to factor in the total cost, including interest, and consider how long you plan to keep the car. Final thoughts. Your car, your choice. At the end of the day, there's no one-size-fits-all answer to the buy versus lease debate. It's all about finding what works best for you. Take the time to run the numbers, think about your driving habits and financial goals, and choose the option that aligns with your lifestyle. If you found this video helpful, be sure to share it with others who might be grappling with the same decision. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more videos on personal finance and making smart money choices. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.